Welcome to rSlash Relationship Advice, where we get a genuine post from an entitled Karen. Am I the butthole for not giving my daughter a letter my deceased husband wrote for her before he died? In January of 2019, my husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was in a completely inoperable part of the brain and was told he had 6 months to live. He stuck it out and died in October, 3 months longer than he was expected to. He was always positive and decided a few weeks ago after his diagnosis that he would write letters for our daughters for significant events in their lives. My husband was my soulmate, and the past few months have been difficult knowing I've lost him. We have 2 daughters, Mia, who's 21, and Imogen, Emmy, who's 19. All 3 of us have become a lot closer since their dad's death, and we've all really struggled. My husband and I were together since we were children, got married when we were 18, and we were approaching our 20th wedding anniversary when he passed. In February of this year, Mia got married to a boy she's been with for about 6 years. I absolutely love her husband, and he's been incredibly supportive during all of our grief. My husband wrote a letter for Mia to open on her wedding day. It's worth noting that my daughters were unaware of these letters. It was my job to give them to our daughters. Her wedding day comes around, and I just can't bring myself to give her the letter. I read it and just wanted to keep it to myself. I had his handwriting and his words, and it felt like he was there, and I couldn't bear the thought of giving that up yet. I was fully intending on giving her all the other letters as the events happened. Last week, Mia and her husband bought their first home together. They'd been living at our home since they got married, and so had a lot of stuff to pack and move to their new house. Mia asked me where her important documents were, passport, birth certificate, etc. So I told her that they were in the top drawer of my dresser in my bedroom. The only letter that was in there was the one I meant to give her on her wedding day. The rest were hidden away. She immediately recognized his handwriting, and of course it was addressed to her, so she read it and broke down. She came and found me and started screaming at me, asking how I could be so selfish. I didn't really know what to say apart from the fact that I wanted to keep it and she could take a picture of it. Both my daughters called me a butthole and are convinced I'm keeping them from a load of their dad's stuff. Am I the butthole? OP, what you did was so morally wrong. I genuinely can't believe that you even thought that you might not be the butthole here. This is a fundamental emotional betrayal of both your daughter and your deceased husband. Of course your daughters are accusing you of hiding stuff from them. You literally are hiding their father's things from them. Am I the butthole for reporting my teacher over a very uncomfortable joke? I'm a 20-year-old female and I've been in a bakery course in September, and every Wednesday we have an 8-hour hands-on class. My teacher, a 50-year-old man, is a very friendly man, but his sense of humor is kind of on the edge of acceptable. He's been making passionately hugging jokes about me and some other girls in my class all year, but they were still kind of funny. Last week he called me from the other side of the room saying his friend sent him a video, and it made him think of me as a joke. I approached him and he gets the video out. Everyone else was busy doing their thing. He showed me the video and skips through it. It was an adult video of a lesbian orgy. I got super uncomfortable and froze. I couldn't do anything but chuckle in shock. I laughed it off, didn't say anything about it, and went back to what I was doing. I know I should have said something then, but I just couldn't. It's been making me lose sleep since last week. I feel grossed out, objectified, and my self-worth has plummeted. So today, I decided to call someone at school who I trust. I told her what happened and that I wanted to arrange a meeting with witnesses where I tell him that he crossed a boundary. But she said she wanted to tell his boss and get an investigation started. Now he's gonna get in trouble because of me, even though I wanted to give him a warning first. Am I the butthole for reporting my teacher over a joke? OP, I think you made a typo in your title. Did you mean to say, am I the butthole for reporting my teacher over blatant sexual harassment? Because the answer is no, you are not the butthole here. You're paying for that class, which means he has no business comparing you to a porn star. Even if you weren't paying for that class, he'd have no business comparing you to a porn star. But this is just disrespectful on so many levels, and he definitely deserves to be investigated. Am I the butthole for snapping at a barista after she woke up my sleeping baby twice? OP, I haven't even read the post yet, and I already know that if you're trying to get your baby to take a nap in a frickin' coffee shop, then you're the butthole. But let's see. The coffee shop near my house just reopened, so I went in for a coffee on my afternoon walk with my 9-month-old daughter yesterday. It wasn't busy, but because there were only 3 working baristas, the service was slow. That's fine, I wasn't in a rush. But the second I walked in, I was struck by how loud their coffee grinder was. It wasn't just shut off in a few seconds though, but kept going and going, since the 3rd barista was grinding a huge bag of coffee all at once. Within the first minute, my daughter wakes up and keeps screaming no matter how much I try to comfort her. After 5 minutes, I asked the barista if she could stop using the coffee grinder as it's disturbing my baby, and she agrees and turns off the machine. While I'm waiting for my drink, I manage to get my daughter to start dozing again until the barista turns on the grinder again, making my daughter cry all over again. At this point, I snap at the barista for turning it on when I'm still there, as she can clearly see that she has caused my daughter to cry again. The barista says she was doing something else with the grinder that was more urgent, but could she have really not waited until I left? Anyways, the other baristas were extremely cold to me and didn't even say anything when they gave me my drink. I emailed the manager when I got home explaining the situation, and today the manager replied and apologized for what happened. In return, I got a free gift card. I was telling my husband this, thinking he would be excited about the gift card, but he doesn't think I should have emailed the manager at all, and that I overreacted. But the manager agrees that I was wronged here. Am I the butthole? Oh my god, OP, the manager doesn't agree that you were wronged here. The manager just doesn't want a social media fire where you're posting on all of your platforms about how terrible Starbucks is. He was just trying to buy your silence because you sound like an entitled Karen. How selfish and entitled you have to be to come into a place where someone else is working and demand they stop working because of your baby. If you wanted your baby to nap peacefully, maybe you shouldn't have gone into a coffee shop. OP, you get 3 out of 5 buttholes, and I'm really looking forward to the story that someone else posts about you on r/entitledparents. Am I the butthole for telling my niece to stay in the closet until she gets her inheritance? I'm a 42-year-old male, and my 17-year-old niece recently confided in me that she's a lesbian. I supported her, let her know that I'd be there, etc. Usual ally stuff. However, she told me that she was going to come out to the whole world this week. I let her know that she should absolutely wait for her grandparents, my parents, to pass. My father is incredibly wealthy and has tens of millions of dollars in assets that he'll be passing down once he's gone. My father is a raging homophobe who has flat out stated that any gay individual in our family would be written out of the will. And to make sure that the rest of us don't just split our money with said gay relative, they will instead have that portion of the inheritance donated to charitable causes. That money will be erased from the inheritance. Since both my father and mother are in incredibly poor health, stage 4 cancer and debilitating dementia respectively, I told my niece that she should stay in the closet for a while longer. If she comes out as a lesbian and they find out, she will quite literally lose out on $7 million. She was a little sad, but was also appreciative since that is obviously a life-changing amount of money that will allow her to live luxuriously until she dies. My wife, however, said that I'm being a butthole. I'm telling this poor girl to hide who she is just to appease old bigots. That's true, I am asking her to appease old bigots. But I feel like her life quality will be much better with $7 million at the cost of 1 to 2 years in the closet at tops. I've also seen my father's will and know who's getting what. So my niece is definitely going to receive $7 million as long as my father doesn't rewrite or edit his will. Am I the butthole for telling my niece to stay in the closet so she can be a millionaire? Small update. My wife apologized for getting snippy with me and now agrees she should hide it for a year or two. She's a powerful advocate of LGBTQ rights, so she had a knee-jerk reaction to my dad's bigotry. So I specifically decided to cover this post because I know that I have a lot of young viewers and this gave me an opportunity to say something that I think is important. As a professional Reddit reader, you need to understand that I consume a lot of Reddit content. And I can't even begin to tell you the number of posts that I've read from teenagers who have had their lives destroyed because they came out to their parents as gay or bi or atheist or whatever. And I just want to say that Yes, you absolutely do have the right to come out if you want to. But at the same time, if you're not a legal adult, I just want to make you aware that if you come out to unsupportive parents, it could have serious consequences. I'm a strong supporter of LGBTQ rights, but if you think that your parents won't be supportive and they have the power to destroy your lives, then I would say wait until you're 18 at least. And for $7 million, I would tell people that I'm actually a cat operating a human-shaped robot if it would mean that kind of money. So yeah, OP, I'm gonna say you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I agree that in a perfect world, your niece should be able to come out, but unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. Am I the butthole for reading my teenage daughter's diary? I'm a 35-year-old male, and I have a 16-year-old daughter. I've been a single father since she was about 3 years old, as I got sole legal custody due to some addiction issues her mother has. We have a really good relationship, but I always worry about her not having a woman to talk to. Over the past few months, she hasn't really seemed to be herself. I know she went through a bad breakup, but I've been worried it's more than that. I've tried to talk to her, and my sister only lives down the street, so she's tried talking to her also. But my daughter is really keeping to herself, and it concerns me. She went out to see her friends for the first time since quarantine started yesterday and asked me if I could give her room a quick tidy while she was gone. I agreed, because she does a lot of chores, but she's not good at cleaning her room. While I was putting clothes back in her closet, I stumbled upon what I now know to be her diary. I shouldn't have read past the first page, but I just wanted to know if there was anything going on she wasn't telling me about. There was some really heartbreaking stuff for a father to read about, how down she felt about herself. So when she got home, I brought it up to her. She asked me why this was suddenly coming up, and when I told her I'd read her diary, she absolutely flipped and told me it was an absolute invasion of privacy and she was completely humiliated. I told her I was just trying to protect her, and she said it was none of my business and locked herself in her bedroom and hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the butthole? Yeah, OP, that's a pretty major butthole move. That's a fundamental betrayal of privacy, and I'd be very surprised if your daughter trusts you anytime soon. I'll give you 2.5 out of 5 buttholes for that one. Am I the butthole for taking back the beer I bought for a party from which I was uninvited? This happened just a few hours ago. I'm a 19-year-old man, and the people calling me a butthole in this story are 18-year-old men and women. On Thursday, a person I had a major crush on in high school, but who rejected me, messaged me out of the blue. She never contacted me without my contacting her first. And at one point, I realized she had blocked me on social media, and so I found it odd that she was suddenly being friendly. After sending a couple of greetings and questions about how I've been, she said that she was going to have some people over and wanted to know if I would get the beer. The drinking age where we are is 19, and she and the people who are going to chill were all 18. The liquor stores in my area all card. I thought it was silly that my being a month older meant that I could buy liquor and they couldn't, and so I said I would love to. She said, "Thanks, I'll pick you up at 7. 7 o'clock rolled around, and she texted me to say that she was in front of my house. I went out dressed and ready to chill with some people, and she drove me to the liquor store. When we got there, I asked what beer she wanted me to get, and she told me to get Budweiser. I hid my disappointment as well as I could, but it was her party, so I went in and bought 2 cases of 24. I got back in the car and said, "Let's party," and she was eerily quiet. I noticed that she wasn't driving towards her neighborhood, but rather back towards mine. I thought she'd moved or something, but didn't want to press the issue. When she turned down my street, I finally figured it out. She was being purposefully vague about the invitation because she wanted me to get the beer, but she wanted a way out when she told me I wasn't actually invited in the first place. She stopped in front of my house, leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Thanks," in her best voice. I deadpanned her and asked when she was going to tell me I wasn't invited. She feigned surprise and said that she never intended to invite me in the first place. I sat in silence for a long, awkward minute, picked up the beer, and walked towards my front door. She got out of her car and frantically tried to re-invite me to the party, but I told her that what she did was the most humiliating thing that had ever happened to me. I opened my front door, slammed it a bit too hard, and came back to my room. Now I'm sitting here drinking absolutely unpalatable piss water, and I have text messages from all of her friends and her asking me why I'm being such a dick. I don't think I'm the butthole for reacting the way I did, but if you haven't figured it out, I'm not amazing socially, so I'm not sure. Am I here? Down in the comments, I have to agree with Court in the middle. Not the butthole. Blatantly. How did she expect this to go? You'd happily go buy her beer, then take it to the party, then leave without partying or drinking your beer? They have to all be a bit cracked in the head if they believe that was ever going to work. I'd take a Snapchat of me pouring that down a toilet before I ever gave it to them. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I hope you can move past what a nasty piece of work this girl is. That was r/slash relationship advice, and if you like this video then hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.